Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda, and in my hands I'm holding a 5-page letter called the Unemployment Insurance Program Letter. This is from the State Workforce Agencies Department, and this provides guidance to individuals who are parents or caretakers in the context of schools reopening throughout the country. So if you're a parent or a caretaker and schools are reopening throughout the country, this letter will provide you specific guidance about continued unemployment benefits for you. Now, if you're not a parent or a caretaker, this video probably won't apply to you, but you can help another parent or caretaker by simply sharing the link of this video with them, because I do believe this will help them a lot. Once again, this is a 5-page PDF document called the Unemployment Insurance Program Letter, and I will provide everyone watching with a link to the letter in the description section below. This is an official government document that provides guidance, that provides guidelines about getting insurance benefits now that schools are starting to reopen throughout the country, and this applies to you regardless of which state you live in. So I hope that this will be beneficial. Let me first of all establish that this is a document that provides guidelines for PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, PUA, in the context of school systems reopening. I will walk you through this document, but let me clarify the difference between regular state unemployment insurance and PUA, which is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. So let's be clear about the difference between the two. You should file for regular unemployment insurance if you have an employer and A, you have been laid off, B, your hours have been reduced through no fault of your own, C, you cannot work because a medical or public official has directed you to quarantine or self-isolate because of the pandemic, because of associated symptoms or a positive diagnosis or potential exposure. And also, if you're caring for someone who is suspected of having or who has tested positive for the pandemic. So those are the factors that will allow you to qualify for regular unemployment insurance. Let's just be clear about that. I've done many other videos on unemployment insurance, so definitely check out the unemployment benefits crash course on our channel, and so you'll get more details about all sorts of updates about unemployment insurance. Now, you should file for PUA, which is Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, if you are ineligible for regular unemployment compensation because you have lost income due to the pandemic, and this is important, you are self-employed, or you are seeking part-time work, or you lack sufficient work history, or you have exhausted all rights to regular unemployment compensation or regular benefits. So that's important. So make sure you understand that. If you like, I can repeat that one more time. You can file for PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, if you are ineligible for regular unemployment compensation because you have lost income due to the pandemic and you are self-employed, or you are seeking part-time work, or you lack sufficient work history, or you have exhausted all rights to regular unemployment compensation or extended benefits. That's when you can apply for PUA. Now, here is the guideline. Again, this is a 5-page PDF document which reads as follows. As school systems are taking various approaches to operating schools in response to the pandemic, states have presented the department with questions regarding the impact of these various approaches on the eligibility of PUA for individuals who are caregivers of students. Now, the UIPL, which is the Unemployment Insurance Program Letter, which is the 5-page PDF document I'm holding in my hand right now. Again, please look at the link for this 5-page PDF file in the description section below, and please read it for yourself if you want to, but I'm going to break it down for you. Now, this UIPL, again, which is the letter, provides guidance for states in evaluating the PUA eligibility of individuals. So here's the bottom line. Let's be clear about who can qualify for PUA one more time, and this is an official document directly from the government. An individual who is an individual who is ineligible for regular unemployment compensation, EB or PUC, and self-certifies that he or she is unemployed, partially employed, or unable or unavailable to work because, and I quote, a child or other person in the household for which the individual has primary caregiving responsibility is unable to attend school or another facility that is closed as a direct result of the pandemic, and such school or facility care is requested for such school or facility care is required for the individual to work. So these individuals may be eligible for PUA as described in a certain section in the CARES Act. So again, an individual who's unable, so let me clarify one more time. An individual who is ineligible for regular unemployment compensation and self-certifies that he or she is unemployed, partially unemployed, or unable or unavailable to work because, and I quote, a child or other person in the household for which the individual has primary care giving responsibility is unable to attend school or another facility that is closed as a direct result of the pandemic, and such school or facility care is required for the individual to work. So let's be clear about that. Such individuals are eligible for PUA. Now let's also be clear, however, under the CARES Act, the individual is not eligible for PUA if he or she has the ability to telework with pay, or if he or she is receiving paid sick leave or other paid leave benefits, regardless of whether the individual is unemployed, partially unemployed, or unable or unavailable to work because of one of the pandemic related factors. So that's very important, which means if you are teleworking with pay, or if you're receiving paid sick leave or other paid leave benefits, it doesn't matter whether you're unemployed, partially employed, partially unemployed, or unable or unavailable to work, you simply will not be eligible for the benefits. Please read the document on your own also. So now keep in mind that as schools reopen, there are three scenarios with schools reopening. One, the school is completely digital. Two, the school is hybrid, which means it's partially digital and then it opens a few days a week. And number three, the school is 100% completely open and kids can go back to school, and the children can go back to school. So this document actually provides three scenarios addressing the PUA eligibility of individuals who are caregivers within the context of schools reopening. So let's jump into these three scenarios. Now, here's the interesting thing. The eligibility for both scenario 1, which is completely digital, and scenario 2, which is hybrid, are the same. Okay, so I'll give you the eligibility for scenario 1. The scenario 1 is the school system goes fully online as a direct result of the pandemic. Now here's what the guideline says. When the school system is only providing online instruction, in other words it's completely digital, and when it is not open for students to be physically present in the school, therefore it is considered closed under a certain section of the CARES Act. If the individual must stay home because he or she is a primary caregiver for the students, the individual may be eligible for paid leave benefits under the CARES Act. In fact, it's specifically called the FFCRA. I'll actually give you the what does the FFCRA stand for. Let me take a quick look. Oh, the FFCRA is Families First. That's C for the pandemic. Families First Response Act. That's the That's what FFCRA means. So let me come back to that. If the individual is not receiving, and by the way, I had alluded to this earlier, if the individual is not receiving paid leave benefits and is unable or unavailable to work because he or she is a primary caregiver for the student, the individual may be eligible for PUA. In other words, if the school is completely 100% digital and this individual satisfies all of these conditions, the individual may be eligible for PUA. An individual who is permitted to work from home but must provide such ongoing and constant attention to the student for whom he or she is a primary caregiver that working from home is not possible, may be considered unable or unavailable for work. So that's important to note. Provided the individual is not eligible for regular unemployment compensation, EB and PEUC, then the individual meets the provisions of the CARES Act and may collect PUA. So this is important, and also here's the exception. An individual who is receiving paid leave for part of the week or working part-time hours during the week must report such earnings when filing for PUA. So again, if you're receiving paid leave or you're working, if you're receiving paid leave for part of the week, or if you're working part-time hours, in other words, you have another source of income, you must report that. You must report those earnings when collecting PUA, because that will affect your PUA benefit. And it says failure to report such earnings may result in an overpayment, which in other words means that if they end up overpaying you, they'll end up clawing that money back if you don't report your income properly, which we all know, and all of us should be reporting our income properly. Failure to report such earnings may also result in penalties for fraud and criminal prosecution. So there's that. And these earnings will be deducted from the PUA weekly benefit amount in accordance with the CARES Act. So that was when the school is completely online as a result of the pandemic. Now scenario 2 is the school system opens in a hybrid environment as a direct result of the pandemic, where students attend school in person some days of the week and rest of the week being done online remotely. So the guidelines are the exact same like I mentioned for scenario 1. So it's important for you to keep that in mind and make sure that you comply with all the regulations. Now here's the third scenario. The school system provides students the option to stay home and attend online classes or to attend school in person full time. This is very important. These words are very important. The school system provides students the option to stay home and attend online classes or to attend school in person full time. Now if a school opens in person full time, the school in most cases cannot force the student to come back. Okay, you can't force somebody to come back if the parents think that it's not safe. And by the way, regardless of what the school says, parents will make their own decisions about their children, because all of this is a deeply personal decision. My goal is to give you the guidance, right? As a parent, we make our own decisions. But this is interesting. So schools will open full time, but at the same time schools will give the students the option to stay home and attend online classes. And in this case, the guidance says, the guidance says when the school system provides the student with a choice between full-time in-person instruction and remote learning, it is open for students to be physically present at the school. In other words, the school is considered open. Now, by the way, you can imagine what's coming next. If the individual who's a primary caregiver chooses to have the students participate in remote learning, in other words, have the kids stay at home and pursue online learning, instead of in-person instruction, the individual does not meet the criteria, the provisions under the CARES Act for PUA. Unless the individual meets another listed pandemic-related reason under the CARES Act, the individual is not eligible for PUA. An individual who continues to claim PUA benefits under this clause, despite the reopening of schools, may face an overpayment as well as penalties for fraud and criminal prosecution. Now, if you have further questions about this, you can directly contact the government. In fact, you can directly contact the department that issued this letter, which is the State Workforce Agencies Department. And the 5-page PDF document includes an email where you can reach out about paid leave provisions under the FFCRA, including questions from employers. So if you're an employer watching this, you can reach out to the government directly, or you can read the 5-page PDF and interpret it as best as you can. But again, please direct inquiries about PUA and other UI matters directly to the government. My goal was to give you this PDF file and help you get started. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you learned something new from this video, please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications so that you can get instant updates from us going forward. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. If you don't know anything about me, check out my introductory video on our YouTube channel. I have the fortune, the honor, the privilege of living the American dream, and I want to help you live your American dream, help you emerge from this crisis, regardless of whether you're an employee or an employer. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, if you learned something new, please click like, please click subscribe, please enable notifications so we can send you instant updates going forward. I really appreciate you watching. Once again, my name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. I'll see you in the next video at Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.